Hi, good day to all of you because you are joining from different time zones. So I'm just going to say good day and thank you all for joining on a Saturday morning. I know some people it's too early, for some people it's too late, but you're taking time to join and we are honored and humbled by it. We just want to tell you a little bit about Coco Town because there are a lot of times we have some people who are not our customers, so we just want to expose them to what Coco Town is. So I'm not going to bore you a lot, just a few minutes. This parent company was started in 1992 as Inno Concepts. Just like the name suggests, it's innovative products. We didn't want to be just a trading company. Even though it's a trading company, we just didn't want to deal with the Me Too products. We always wanted to do something unique and innovative. And then we were primarily focusing on the machines for the South Indian market. But then it was going good. We had distributors all over USA to help the customers so they didn't have to ship it Atlanta for repairs. And then in 2007, 2008, we had a recession. So we had to change our focus. So we wanted to see where we can make a positive difference. And over the years, we always collected the information from our customers. When we don't recognize the name as a South Indian name, we call them and ask them, hey, why are you buying this machine? What are you using it for? So we found people were making it for masa, they were making it for nut butters, nut milks, hummus, tahini, lot of different things. And then a couple of people said chocolate, and then even there was one lady who was using it to make a sphagnum mask, using it from the park, Central Park in New York, and then she was making a facial mask, and her clients loved it. She said it was cheaper than importing from Europe, and it's a better quality. So we looked at all of those, and then the chocolate caught our attention. We thought because chocolate doesn't have any religious restrictions, or you can eat any day of the week, any time of the day, and any age. So, and we also did little more digging and then found out the existing chocolate machines were like $1 million of worth, and they had to have a huge facilities. So we said, okay, we will make something that anybody can make chocolate. So we were focusing on three different areas: environment, customers, business, and agriculture. We wanted to make sure, we also found out the farmers were not getting compensated enough for the cocoa beans. So the people, when they make the bean to bar or the craft chocolate or the fine chocolate, there are a lot of definitions right now. Fine Chocolate Industry Association is coming up with a glossary of the things that defines what each word means. So people who make this craft chocolate, they were paying more for the farmers, so they can make the farming to the next generation can take over. And then we make the machines with stainless steel so it can stay for longer because we believe in reduce, reuse, recycle. So these machines, they don't have to end up in landfill. And then the customer's business, we are always interested in making sure the customers grow their business too, then we can grow with them. So we came up with the 3-day intensive workshops. So people can come here and they stay here for 3 days and learn everything about making chocolate, from sorting the beans all the way to wrapping the bars and writing a business plan. But again, when the pandemic hit in 2020, we had to pivot again. So now we are focusing more on education. So we thought if people cannot travel to us, so let's connect them through Zoom. So we came up with the idea called Empowering Chocopreneurs webinar, and we are bringing all the industry experts, peers, and influencers to share their knowledge for the benefit of the community. And we are very fortunate, like people like Monica and everybody, they are willing to do this free of charge. So we can in turn give it free of charge for people who want to join. And these recordings also live on our cloud right now. So if you need to watch it after, we will, you can send us an email, we will send you the recording. So now, so um, we're looking forward to returning to the new normal, like meeting people in person. The first one is like Dallas Chocolate Festival coming in a couple of weeks. We will be there. So if you are visiting, please come and say hi to us. And then he always, want to end with Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. That means loosely that may all the beings everywhere in the world be happy and free, and may the thought and actions of my own life contribute in some way to those actions and to that freedom for everyone. Thank you. Now I will hand over the mic to Teresa.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we are recording the session, so don't worry about feverishly taking notes. You will get a link to view the recording at a later date. And also, we want to let you know that if you have a question, if you'll use the in the bottom panel there, if you hover over at the bottom of your screen, a little control panel will pop up and there's a reactions setting. Click that and then you'll see a raise hand feature, and you can raise your hand and we'll open you can unmute and ask your question during the presentation. Also, there'll be a little time at the end for a little Q&A with Dr. Rudy. If you want us to ask the question for you, feel free to put it in the chat as usual. Let's see, make sure I covered everything. So reactions.
Teresa, we are losing your voice. When you
Okay,
can
reaction setting. So the reaction setting at the bottom to raise hand if you'd like to ask a question. And let's see, I'll admit Lisa. Okay, so the housekeeping section is done. So what I would like to do is, as always, we start with a little get to know our presenter. And so I'd like to ask Dr. Rudy a question. Dr. Rudy, can you talk to us a little bit about, since it's CocoaTown and a chocolate theme, can you talk to us a little bit about chocolate, anything about chocolate in your life that you want to share with us?
Okay, chocolate in my life. Well, when I was a kid, Easter was a big celebration, and we had lots of Easter chocolate, which was, candy, quote unquote chocolate candy from the store. And on one particular Easter, I really went to town. I was eating tons of, chocolate eggs and chocolate bunnies, et cetera, made myself sick. And after that, it's like I couldn't eat chocolate for the longest time until I became an adult. And then, gradually, I adopted a raw food diet. And one of the things I did, and this was like almost 20 years ago, was I started to make raw treats. And I started to make, these little edible nuggets with raw cacao and honey and dates. And they were quite delicious. And I noticed that, they had a very nice benefit on my brain. And I actually, that emotional experience of being reintroduced to chocolate in a positive way, it's like, oh, okay, now I no longer have an aversion to chocolate. I like it again. And, chocolate actually is a good food, but it's a powerful food. It's a specialty food, which actually has direct, it can make powerful changes to the brain, beneficial changes. But like anything that has the potential for making a rapid beneficial change, you kind of have to be careful with it because it is so powerful and so concentrated. But we're going to touch upon that throughout the seminar, because chocolate is actually one of the foods that produces the beneficial changes that we're going to be talking about. And on that note.
Yes, great. That's a perfect segue into the presentation. Thank you, Dr. Rudy, and thank you for your time and for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. And with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. So the name of this presentation is basically the secrets to health and rejuvenation, or health and longevity. And this is actually, for the most part, it is the introductory class to a 10-class series, which I do online. And that class actually, that 10-week class is going to start on October 3rd. We meet for like 1 hour once a week, and we talk about, in great detail, what we can do to optimize our potential for health and longevity. So the information that I will be sharing today, here is a PowerPoint presentation. And, if you have any questions on any of this material, please feel free to go ahead and ask now. I mean, if it's the sort of question which can wait till the end, you can do that. Or if you have a question which you feel would be relevant, right now, please feel free to go ahead, raise your hand, and you can contribute right now. So let's actually go back to the beginning of the presentation here. Okay. The secrets to health and longevity. So, or the key is another way that we can say it, to health and longevity. And really, there's a lot of secrets, but there's one key to health and longevity, and that is the internal organs. The brain, the heart, the liver, the kidneys, especially those internal organs that we call the vital organs, those organs that you couldn't live with even for a minute, like your brain and your heart and your lungs. How long can you go without breathing? How long can you go without your heart beating? How long can you go without your brain working? The answer, not long at all. And even, go to the liver and kidneys. And you might be able to live for half an hour or an hour without those organs. But really, we need all of our internal organs and glands working at an optimum level in order to realize our potential, for health and longevity. So yeah, the internal organs are the key. So it's not about your skin, it's not about your joints and muscles, it's not about your hair and nails. These have to do with appearance. But actually, what allows us to feel good right now, and what allows us to be healthy and not get sick, and to realize our potential for a long and healthy life is the internal organs. The key to having a long and healthy life is to have, very healthy internal organs. And in traditional Chinese medicine, also known as Asian medicine or Oriental medicine, this is well recognized. They really understood, and they still, in the modern teaching of traditional Oriental medicine, they really emphasize the health of the internal organs. So how do we keep our internal organs healthy? Well, like I said, it's the internal, it's very simple. It's food and exercise. The way that we keep our internal organs healthy and youthful, those two things, food and exercise. There are specific things that we can do food-wise and exercise-wise, which will optimize the functioning of our internal organs. So yes, that's hugely important. Let's go back here. Let's go back to, there we go. Let's just talk about this for a moment. When people talk about dying of old age, you know, what happens when somebody dies of old age? Well, the body stops working. More specifically, one or more of the internal organs no longer works well enough to maintain life. That's what's actually happening when you pass on. And yeah, so that's good to know. And even before folks die of old age, many degenerative conditions, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, arthritis, and so forth, and all of the various signs and symptoms of aging, these are all caused by an altered or reduced functioning of the internal organs and glands. Now, once we realize that, then we could put our attention on the internal organs and say, what can we do? Well, what we can do is very simple: food and exercise. Now, when I say food, I don't mean just food. I also mean rest from food. Yeah, that could mean fasting, but not just doing like a 5-day fast or 10-day fast. Resting from food means giving your body enough time from the last meal that you ate yesterday and the first meal that you eat today. Giving your body sufficient time to rest, from one day to another, from one meal to another. This will ultimately is going to translate into your body being stronger, all of the organ systems being stronger, including heart, the health of your blood vessels, your immune system, your digestion, and so forth. And with exercise, we don't mean just exercise, we mean also having proper rest from exercise, and that includes sleep. The rest that we get during sleep is critically important, for health and longevity, and how much energy we have during the day, and how well we are able to exercise during the day is largely determined. It's determined by how well we can rest at night. Okay, so now let's take a closer look at this. And first, let's understand, why are food and exercise so critically important, to help us realize our potential for health and longevity. And to answer that question, we have to take a look at physiology. Let's take a look at, first of all, physiological. What is happening that will account for why food and exercise has such a profound influence on our health? And more importantly, by taking a look at the physiology of aging, we will see how we can use food and exercise to optimize our potential for health and longevity. Now, when we look at the physiology of aging, we see 4 things that are happening physiologically that directly translate into aging and degeneration of the body. And these 4 things are free radical damage, genetic mutation, telomere shortening, and general toxicity of the body. So now free radical damage, genetic mutation, most of you probably have heard of that, but not too many people have heard of telomere shortening. I mean, what is that? the telomeres. Now, it looks like some folks have a question at this point. I guess not. I don't see any hands up here. But let's take a look at some of these physiological factors that cause aging. First of all, free radical damage. What exactly are free radicals? Well, free radicals are molecules. You know, they are molecules which disrupt the other molecules of the body. They oxidize the other molecules of the body, you know, the proteins, you know, the fats, and the other vital substances that make up the body are easily oxidized by free radicals. Now, oxidation, to give you an idea, oxidation is what happens when you, for example, cut up an apple and you let it sit. What happens to that apple? It turns brown. That browning is oxidation. That's free radical damage. The same thing is happening to our body inside and out. And many of the physiological signs of aging and degeneration may be directly attributed to free radical damage. Okay, we're talking about graying of hair and loss of hair, arthritis, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, wrinkling of skin, and so on. So one of the simple secrets to optimizing our potential for health and longevity is very simply to minimize free radical damage. Okay, now we do have molecules in the body that neutralize free radicals, which you may have heard of. They're called antioxidants. And you can buy, you know, antioxidants supplements in a health food store. Now, our body makes antioxidants. Our body makes some very powerful antioxidants. And in fact, the difference between animals that naturally live a long time and animals that have a short lifespan is that the animals that have a potential for a longer life, they make higher levels of certain antioxidants. So, for example, whales and you know, anthropoid apes and humans, we have the potential to live 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. Whereas like a dog or a cat or like a hamster, they may live 5, 10, 20 years. And the difference is that the animals that live a longer life have a higher level of antioxidants. Now, this is where food comes in, because certain foods contain antioxidants. And when we eat foods that are high in antioxidants, it will sort of take the burden off the body to produce so much antioxidants. We are able to conserve our supply of antioxidants. And so one of the ways that we can tell if someone is, you know, healthy on the inside and has a good level of antioxidants is you could actually go to a practitioner who has a device, a machine, it's called the biometer, which you put your hand on it and it uses a laser to scan how high your antioxidant levels are. And based on how high it is, it lets you know, okay, your levels are at 80,000 or 70,000 or 90,000. You're on track for a long and healthy life. But if it's down by 30,000 or 20,000 okay, you need to make some changes. So, oh gosh, what do I do? How do I get my antioxidant levels higher? And the answer is very simple. Eat more colorful fruits and vegetables. All fruits and vegetables, but especially the colorful fruits and vegetables. These are the foods that tend to have the highest levels of antioxidants. And that's great because, humans, we are primates, and primates, which includes, monkeys, apes, this is the only major group of animals that is capable of seeing colors. And we use this capacity to see colors to zero in on the colorful fruits and vegetables because our eyes are drawn to these foods. And these are the foods that have a powerful effect on our potential for health and longevity. Okay, now the foods that tend to be highest in antioxidants, common foods that are highest in antioxidants. And by the way, this list, as you can see here, this comes straight out of one of my books. This book right here, if you can see it, this is called What Should I Eat? Book 1, Finding Your Ideal Diet. And actually, the other book that actually has more information like that is this book, What Should I Eat? Book 2, of food as medicine. So in that book, in these two books, I go over this information in a lot more detail. So if I talk about some things here that you'd like to read about in more details, pretty much most of the information, the nutritional information that I'm going to be sharing with you today comes from those two books. And part of that information is this chart, which we can see right here. Common foods that give you high levels of antioxidants. So fruits like plums, strawberries, blueberries, these are foods that you could find in a health food store or in a supermarket, hopefully organic, section of the supermarket, which have high levels of antioxidants. And it's not like forcing yourself to eat these foods. It's like just walk up and down the produce aisle and just ask yourself a question. What fruits look good to me? What vegetables look good to me? Look for the colorful ones because those are the ones that stand out. Like for vegetables, kale. Kale is very, very high. And cabbage. And we're talking here the purple cabbage, cilantro, carrots, beets, sweet potatoes. And right now, watermelon are in season. I'm drinking some watermelon juice right now. This is watermelon juice from watermelons, which I grew, in my garden. And that actually brings up another really important point. The fruits and vegetables that are going to be the most powerful as far as having the highest level of antioxidants and other nutrients that have a positive impact on our health. These are going to be the fruits and vegetables that were locally grown, from a local organic farm, or ideally that you picked from your own garden, where you pick it and then you take it into the kitchen to make a salad, or make some steamed vegetables, cooked vegetables, or to juice them into a powerful, rejuvenation tonic like this. Okay, like plums. Plums are super, super high. And really the highest fruits, the fruits that are highest in antioxidants are prunes, because prunes are made from plums. They're dehydrated plums. So they're super, super high. The antioxidants become very, very concentrated in any kind of a dry fruit. But anyway, all of these fruits and vegetables, you just eat the ones that appeal to you and eat the ones that happen to be in season. And then other foods like green tea, dark chocolate is a very nice source of antioxidants. Turmeric is a wonderful source of antioxidants, as is garlic and cayenne pepper. And these are, these are common foods. They're common spices. You can use them to spice up your food rather than using a lot of salt. Use a lot of really good, herbs, culinary herbs, which have some very, very good medicinal and nutritive properties like turmeric and garlic and cayenne pepper. So yeah, that is one of the main secrets of setting up physiological conditions that allow the body to realize its potential for health and longevity. Just eating a lot of colorful fruits and vegetables. Okay, now genetic mutation is the other major contributor to rapid aging. Now you might say, well, genetic mutation, that's just like a change in the DNA molecules, which we need to, allow our cells to work properly. You might think, well, there's nothing I can do about that, genetic mutations. Well, actually, there's a lot that we can do about that, because the number one cause of genetic mutation is free radical damage. So yeah, the same foods that will be high in antioxidants to neutralize free radicals, automatically those same foods are going to slow down the onset of those genetic, random genetic mutations that translate into rapid aging. Yeah, so it is that simple. Just eat those colorful fruits and vegetables. And by the way, I want to just point something out here to underscore the fact that a lot of the signs of aging are due to free radical damage, which include genetic mutation. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of folks who have had exposure to radiation, like really, really large doses of radiation, or who have had radiation treatment for cancer. And they look like they've aged 20 years, like overnight. That was the radiation that did that. But what is the radiation doing to cause such devastating damage? Well, radiation will produce free radical damage. All of the damage that is done by harmful radiation is due to free radical damage. So you might think, oh, well, there's radiation coming from the sun, there's radiation coming from, microwaves and computer screens. There's nothing that I can do about that. But there is. Those same foods that have high levels of antioxidants will actually protect your body from radiation the way that it's going to protect your body from other sources of free radical damage, such as toxicity. Toxicity from pollutants that are in the air, in the water, and that happen to be in our foods, toxins that are in the foods. Some of these toxins are producing free radical damage. All of these, harmful changes can be mitigated simply by having enough colorful fruits and vegetables, in your diet. Okay, now telomeres. Now, some of you may have heard of telomeres. So what are telomeres? Think about your shoelaces. Okay, think about your shoelaces, which has these tips made of metal or plastic, those kind of hard metal or plastic tips on a shoelace. That's like what telomeres are. Telomeres are the terminal ends, the little bitty terminal ends of our DNA molecules, like the tips of a shoelace. Now, telomeres are essential for the replication of DNA. And the replication of DNA is essential for our cells to be able to reproduce. And what happens as we age is that every time your cells reproduce, the telomeres get shorter. And as they get shorter and shorter, the DNA has a harder time replicating, which means the cells in your body that need to be able to reproduce, they slow down. They reproduce more slowly. So the body is not able to regenerate and rejuvenate itself like skin. Our skin cells, they reproduce quickly. But as we get older and older, the reproduction of the skin cells gets slower because the telomeres in the DNA molecules of these cells is getting shorter and shorter. And eventually, those telomeres get so short that the cells that need to be able to reproduce are no longer able to do so, including the cells of our internal organs, like our liver and kidneys. And yet, as we get older and older, what happens? Our liver shrinks, our kidneys shrink, and they're not able to detoxify the body anymore. And quite often, when people die of old age, what's happening is the body kind of gets run down and is not able to work because it's not able to detoxify itself. Because the liver and the kidneys and the other organs that are involved in detoxification are not able to do the job. Because the cells in these organs are not able to reproduce because the telomeres have become too short. Okay, so what is it that makes them age? Is it genetically programmed? Well, maybe, maybe not. But we do know that there are some stressors that cause a shortening of telomeres, which you can see there in the PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, stress, that's a biggie. Plain old, emotional stress, constant, unrelenting anxiety. So if we live in an environment that is constantly keeping us in a state of angst, of fear and anxiety, yeah, that actually will contribute to telomeres becoming shorter and effectively shortening our lives. When you shorten your telomeres, you shorten your life. But other things too, stress, it's hard to control that, but there are things that we can control, like sugary beverages, alcohol, red meat, processed meats, caffeine, and free radicals. There's a lot that we can do to minimize the damage from these other stressors. And the good news is, even though there's not much you can do about, let's say, the bad news on the TV set, other than, of course, switching it off, and there's nothing you can do about the things that are happening around us that make us worried. Well, the good news is that when we take care of the other stressors that we can control, like the sugary beverages, like the alcohol and red meat and processed meat and caffeine, and the free radicals. When we take care of those things that we can control, the body is better able to neutralize the harmful effect of the stresses that we can't control. So that's the good news. So the way that we can protect our telomeres is by eating certain foods, such as fruits and vegetables, which have a lot of antioxidants, plus certain foods like legumes, peas and beans, nuts and seeds, seaweed, fruits and fruit juice, which I already mentioned. Dark chocolate, again, they found it has a good positive effect on the telomeres. Coffee. Now, let me back up here again, because look where it says that caffeine causes a shortening of the telomeres, but coffee, unless you're drinking too much coffee, if you're eating, let's say, a reasonable amount of coffee, it actually has a positive effect on telomeres, because even though it has caffeine, it has a bunch of other beneficial substances which neutralize the stressful effect of caffeine while also having other benefits. And same thing for dark chocolate. It's one of those foods which is very powerful. It has a nice effect on the body and especially on the brain, but you don't want to OD on it because it's a powerful food, and you don't want to OD on anything that has a potentially powerful effect on the physiology, because anything that has a potentially powerful effect, a beneficial, powerful effect on the physiology, can also have a negative effect if you use too much of it. Okay, and then exercise, plain old exercise, aerobic exercise, enduring exercise, weight training, any sort of exercise. But I want to say exercise that is appropriate for you will have a positive effect on telomeres. Yoga is wonderful in that regard. Any stress reduction exercise, meditation, and nitric oxide. Okay, let me just pause here for a moment. Some of you may have heard of nitric oxide. Now, what is nitric oxide? Because it's like it's all the rage. It's like a hot topic in nutrition circles. When I go to my continuing education seminar, they're talking about nitric oxide left and right, because we can use it to reduce inflammation, reduce pain, and slow down the aging and degeneration of the body. And preservation of telomeres is just one of the beneficial effects of nitric oxide. Let's just talk about nitric oxide here for a moment. Let me just show you something here. Let me just go to another screen right here. Okay, here it is. This is literally a page out of my book, page 35, I think. Yeah, look what it says here. In recent years, mainstream medicine has found that, let me just put this out of the way, that nitric oxide is very powerful, therapeutically. And so now you can buy supplements which will, give you higher, nitric oxide levels. But also there are foods that contain nitric oxide, or rather that will promote higher nitric oxide levels. Now notice, these are pretty much the same foods that also are rich in antioxidants. Okay, pomegranate, watermelon, cranberries, spinach, kale again, carrots again, beets again, and then other things, dark chocolate again, and turmeric, garlic, cayenne pepper. Yeah, so this is getting easier and easier. The same foods that you would use to give you a rich supply of antioxidants are also going to promote higher nitric oxide levels, which will, preserve the telomeres on your DNA molecules, as well as having other wonderful effects. Another wonderful effect of nitric oxide is that it keeps your blood vessels healthy, your arteries. One of the main causes of death is cardiovascular disease. Quite often when people die of old age, they had cardiac arrest. And really what's causing the cardiovascular problems is the arteries that are gradually getting clogged. And what initiated that clogging of the arteries was the fact that it wasn't cholesterol, by the way. High cholesterol levels do not initiate the clogging of the arteries. What initiates the clogging is damage, free radical damage to the inside of the blood vessels, which then causes the buildup of cholesterol. And nitric oxide is actually one of the substances that helps the body to prevent the inside of the big arteries from getting damaged and allows them to properly heal themselves, to stay healthy. So nitric oxide preserves our telomeres. It helps to keep our big arteries healthy. And it also stimulates the regeneration of the smaller arteries, the smaller blood vessels, and allows our tiny blood vessels to remain dilated, to be wide, so that the blood and the nutrients and the oxygen can flow into all the nooks and crannies in the body. One of the things that happens as folks get older and older is that the circulation breaks down. Blood vessels disintegrate from free radical damage. So one of the things that keeps them from disintegrating and helps the blood vessels to regenerate and to remain wide and big so the blood can flow into all the nooks and crannies is nitric oxide, maintaining optimum levels of nitric oxide, which is real easy to do. It's very simple. Just eat, an ample amount of colorful fruits and vegetables, fresh, organic fruits and vegetables, locally grown from your garden as much as possible. Okay, so let's go back to our PowerPoint. Okay, so that's the story on telomeres. Now, the last thing that that I'd like to share with you regarding what we can do to slow down, aging and degeneration has to do with toxicity in the body, because an increased toxicity in the body is a major contributor to aging and degeneration, just general toxicity. So what is general toxicity doing when there is like an overabundance of waste products and other toxins? Well, they're going to make the body unable. Looks like there's a little bit of a typo here. Yeah, the body is unable to properly regulate itself. When the body is toxic, it means it's not able to regulate itself. And what's happening when we age and degenerate? Well, the body is experiencing a gradual loss in its capacity to regulate itself. So the body, as we get older and older, it's not able to cleanse itself as well, and therefore it's not able to regulate itself as well, and therefore, that will tend to accelerate the aging and degeneration. And one of the things that happens as the toxic burden gets higher and higher, look what it says there in the PowerPoint. You're going to have more free radicals. You're going to have more genetic mutations. You're going to have an acceleration in the telomere shortening. So all these things are interconnected. That's the bottom line here. So general toxicity in the body, if you're simply not allowing, your gut in particular to be as clean as it needs to be, that in and of itself is going to contribute to aging and degeneration in multiple ways, such as more free radical damage, more genetic mutation, and accelerated telomere shortening. So body cleansing and detoxification. How do we do that? Well, the simplest thing that we can do to promote that is, once again, fresh fruits and vegetables. And in this case, especially raw, fresh and raw, organic fruits and vegetables, from your garden as much as you can, from the local grower, like on Saturday morning, go to your local neighborhood farmers market. That is the best place, to get your fresh produce. Now, the fruits and vegetables that are especially powerful in helping the body to cleanse and regulate itself are the ones that will help your body to have higher levels of glutathione. So what is glutathione? Let's just kind of move this out of the way. Okay, so have any of you ever heard of glutathione? Okay, yeah, glutathione is like the master detox molecule in the body. All of our cells make glutathione, and especially the liver. The liver has the highest level of glutathione. Let me go back to go back to my book here. Okay, this is from What Should I Eat, Book 2, Food as Medicine. Okay, so this is a passage from this book right here. But glutathione, this is a hugely important molecule. And it's like a general detoxifier. It pretty much detoxifies near everything that comes into the body. It'll go through the liver, and then the liver will detoxify the molecules, mostly by using glutathione. And glutathione, the way that we promote optimal levels of glutathione is certain foods. Certain foods will contain glutathione. And there are other foods which will encourage the body to make glutathione. So look at this. Now, going from top to bottom of the list, the ones on the top of the list are the most powerful foods for promoting high levels of glutathione. So broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, okra, beets. These are the most powerful foods, for having higher levels of glutathione. But notice there's a lot of a lot of overlap. A lot of these foods, which have high levels of glutathione, well, these are the same foods that also will promote higher nitric oxide levels and higher antioxidant levels, in the body. So as I said, it gets easier and easier. The bottom line is fruits and vegetables. Okay, so even though there is just so much we can talk about, with regard, to what we can do for promoting, for optimizing our potential for health and longevity. Pretty much it's food and exercise. A balanced diet, rich in antioxidants, combined with the right kind of exercise, this is how we can optimize our potential. So there are no great secrets or some magical potion that's going to cost you like $100 for a bottle like that. There are such products that you can buy, really expensive products. Like there is a product which consists of an extract made from astragalus. Astragalus is an herb. It's a medicinal herb which is used in traditional Asian medicine. So they take an extract from astragalus and make it into the supplement. And what it does is it preserves your telomeres, and they sell it as a rejuvenation tonic, and it works. But that's what it's, what the astragalus is doing is it's promoting high levels of an enzyme in the body that helps to preserve your telomeres. You can get the exact same effect by eating certain foods and doing certain exercises. You just have to, put in the time rather than spending $500 to buy that little bottle of supplements. Okay, so let's talk about those exercises now. Yeah, generally any kind of exercise, aerobic exercise or resistance exercise will, benefit the body in multiple ways, which ultimately are going to translate into adding years to your life and life to your years. In addition, there are certain targeted exercises that you can do to specifically boost the circulation of blood and lymph to our internal organs and glands, which will encourage the cleansing and the regeneration of the body. Okay, let me just do this real quick. All right. Back to the slideshow. All right, so what we're going to do here for the rest of the presentation. Now, actually, before we do that, let me just stop here for a moment. And because I haven't seen any raised hands here, I don't know if I'm not seeing them. But if any of you guys would like to ask a question at this point, if you want to ask, please feel free to raise your hand. If not, as Lisa, or rather, as Teresa mentioned, we'll have some time left at the end for you to ask questions. Okay, so let's talk about these special magical exercises for promoting health of the internal organs. Okay, so the first exercise is very simple. It's an old, ancient exercise. It's just spinning clockwise, like the whirling dervishes. Except you're not going to be doing it for hours and hours like the whirling dervishes. You're just going to do it for as long as you feel comfortable doing it, before you actually get dizzy and pass out. Just spin clockwise, just for as long as you want. And do it quickly, but not too fast. Do it at a pace that you can that you can tolerate. So why? What is happening? What did the ancient dervishes know that we don't know? Well, what they knew or what they said is that when you spin like that, it causes the chakras, the energy vortexes in the body to spin faster. And supposedly, as we age, the chakras, the energy centers in the body will spin slower and slower, which corresponds to the aging process. And supposedly, when we spin clockwise in this manner, it kind of jump starts the chakras, so they resume spinning at a more youthful rate. Now, from a Western physiological standpoint, apparently one of the things that happens when we spin like faster and faster like that is that the pituitary gland, which is in the brain, will produce more growth hormone. It'll actually rejuvenate the pituitary gland, which will then make higher levels of growth hormone. And then the higher levels of the growth hormone will encourage, more optimal regeneration and rejuvenation of the body. Now, one of the things that I haven't said up to this point is that one of the things that we need for the body to regenerate and rejuvenate is optimal levels of growth hormone, which is produced by the pituitary gland. And yes, according to some very scientific researchers here in the West, when we spin clockwise, it's gonna do that. It's gonna encourage the pituitary glands to make youthful levels of growth hormone. Now, the other things that we've talked about thus far will also potentially encourage higher levels of growth hormone, such as exercise, such as restful sleep. Okay, all of those are going to promote good, deep, restful sleep, which will encourage the body to make higher levels of growth hormone. So I'm spending like a lot of time on this one. I mean, it's a very simple exercise. You just stand there with your arms out and just spin for as long as you feel like it, clockwise. But yeah.
That Rudy,
Yes, yes.
yeah, I have a question. This one we have been doing for ages. Like, we just close our eyes but we don't keep the arms out. We just keep our arms together and then spin 3 times clockwise. So
Okay.
keeping the arms out and our arms in, like we do like that, closed
Yeah,
hands.
that's a variation on it. There's different
Oh,
ways. Some
so,
systems say to do it that way, like the dervishes, and other systems say spin clockwise like this.
mm,
But they don't say that you shouldn't do it any other way.
the only
But I've also seen dervishes do it like this as well. You could do it
Hmm.
either way. Yeah. The
So
way
that's
that I do
interesting
it,
that at least they
yes,
found out that
yes.
there's scientific reason behind what we do, because sometimes people think, oh, it's just silly thing that there is no support, you're just doing for the sake of doing. but it's good to know that it has a lot of health benefits and it's validated by the science.
Yes, there is science. Thank you, Andal. Thank you. Yes, and that's good to emphasize that point that, I mean, and this is not new. I went to a seminar back in the 90s. Well, 1999 was around 98 or 99. I attended a talk given by an osteopathic doctor who wrote a book on health and longevity. What was his name? Whatever his name was. I think it was Ron Goldman was his name. DO, Doctor of Osteopathy. And one of the things that he was sharing with us, and he was a very scientific guy, and everything that he shared was backed by science, like Andal said. And one of the things that he said, that he shared with us to promote regeneration, to promote higher levels of growth hormone, was to spin clockwise, like this, or like this, with hands like this, or like this. But he didn't say don't do this. And he told us, yeah, we've done studies on this. So yes, absolutely. Okay, so spinning clockwise. Now, some of you may have heard of the 5 Tibetan rites, otherwise known as the 5 rites or the 5 Tibetans. The 5 Tibetan rites are 5 exercises that you can do, and they're very powerful. I do these every morning. They are part of my morning routine. They will have a beneficial effect on all major muscles and joints in the body. They will have a beneficial effect on circulation, not just to your muscles and joints, but to your internal organs. And yes, they will also benefit the internal organs and glands, in other ways. Now, one of those 5 exercises is, guess what? Spinning. That's the first of the 5 exercises. Now, the other 4, if you're curious about them, just go to YouTube. There's lots of videos on the 5 Tibetan rites that you can see that will show you how to do them. And there's also books. There's a couple of books that you can read on the subject. The one that I read is called Ancient Secrets of the Fountain of Youth by Peter Bramley. But there's other books as well. So I highly, highly recommend these exercises. Andal, did you have a question?
Yes, the books, whatever you were mentioning, can you put it on the chat so people don't have to remember the names and it's easier? Or we can send it later. We can send it to them by email.
Oh, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, so again, it's Ancient Secrets of the Fountain of Youth by Peter Bramley. I have one stashed away somewhere. I didn't think to have it on hand, but it's a little thin book, very inexpensive. But again, if you're curious about these exercises, just go to YouTube and you'll see a whole bunch of videos on the subject. Okay. So there is an exercise which is actually a yoga exercise called the cat stretch, which is so simple and so powerful. You get down on all 4s, on your hands and knees. And then what you do is you inhale and then arch your back, like a cat does. Just take a deep breath and arch your back and put your head down like that. And just hold that and then breathe out and then arch your back and put your head back. And just do that. Breathe in, arch your back up, and then breathe out and arch your back the other way. Okay, very simple. It does a number of very, very powerful things in the body for the internal organs, in particular in here, for the heart, for the lungs, for the liver, for the digestive organs here, for your kidneys even. It will massage your kidneys. You know, as I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons that people die of old age, quote unquote, is that the kidneys are not working well enough to filter the blood. Because by the time a person gets to be 60, 70 years old, or 80, quite often the filtering capacity of the kidneys has gone down to 40%, 50%. And so they're not doing well. Their energy is low. They can't walk right. Why? Because the blood is getting more and more toxic, and the body is not able to regulate itself because those filters are not working as well, because they have been gradually, degenerating. And this simple exercise, along with fruits and vegetables and the other exercises, will help to massage the kidneys and help to, boost the circulation of blood and lymph through the kidneys. Just doing that exercise, because the kidneys are in your back. They're sort of in your lower back, and when you do that exercise, your back is going like this and like this. You're doing this to your back, so the kidneys are doing this very gently. You're gently massaging your kidneys so they can cleanse themselves and detoxify themselves. Well, all right, so it's a very simple and very powerful exercise.